Joining us on the Thursday edition of The Conversation here on Lagos Television. I am Abimbola Bello.
Good morning. I am Ajibola Ojeshola.
And I am Joy Olu. Welcome to the conversation.
All right, remember we do this Mondays through Fridays and we talk about everything and anything on The Conversation. And today on the program, it promises to be quite enlightening as always on the show. But let's begin with a news point for today. Where do we start from? Ajibola, let's start with the story.
Let's start from Joy.
Okay, don't worry. Let me start. Okay, so this morning, my story will be about the Governors Forum that met in Abuja yesterday, and part of the agenda on what was on the front burner yesterday was on local government autonomy, as well as a couple of other issues. Now, the story says members of the Nigerian Governors Forum yesterday met at the Forum Secretariat in Abuja. The meeting, which held few hours after the governors met with the National Council of Traditional Rulers at the Presidential Villa. Top on the agenda of the meeting, expected to be attended by the 36 state governors, were issues of local government autonomy, update from the recently concluded United Nations General Assembly UNGA, as well as updates on royalties account reconciliation. The governors are also expected to receive briefing from the Director General of the Department of State Security Services, the DSS, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Mele Kyari, and former Vice President Namadi Sambo. At the end of the meeting, in the communique issued, about 4 points were pointed out in the communique, and of course, part of what was said at the forum was that the forum received a presentation from the African Medical Center of Excellence, a specialized 500-bed hospital designed to deliver high-quality diagnostic and treatment across oncology, cardiovascular, and hematological care. That was there. Of course, Mele Kyari also briefed the Governors Forum as well as the director of the DSS at the meeting. By and large, those were the things that were said at the end of that meeting. There was no what is it called? There were no, those were the things that were discussed really, and no pronouncements made at the meeting. So I think it was just one of those meetings where the governor gathered and just talked about.
It was just the regular.
Yes, what concerned them. Because really, I don't know what the briefing about the DSS.
Local government autonomy. The Supreme Court already
local government autonomy
gave a judgment on that, and so majority of them have complied by hurriedly organizing selection, not election, like one of our guests said during the week.
And that's why we perhaps had the hammer fall on River State yesterday.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Where the court said...
Has ordered CBN not to discuss funds.
CBN not to release funds to the council. And again, this is still generating a whole lot of reactions for and against, where some are saying, are we back to the era where the courts will do the dirty works of the politicians, and others are saying, wait a minute, the court will only adjudicate on any case that has been brought before it. So this particular case, the court had the right to hear it and deliver judgment. I'm sure it is most certain that this judgment will be appealed. And remember, Governor Fubara is still saying that he's going to the Supreme Court for the interpretation of the last judgment. So it looks like there are so many cases that he's taking to the appeal on the Supreme Court for better interpretation. So, Sim Fubara is our trending story today, so perhaps when we get onto that area, we'll speak more about that. But the Governors Forum held yesterday. It's just one of those meetings.
All right. My news point this morning, Nigerian workers poorer. Federal government should pay above 70,000 naira. That's credited to Senator Adams Oshiomhole. I saw the headline and I laughed. The senator representing Edo North Senatorial District, Adams Oshiomhole, yesterday said the current generation of workers in the country is poorer than those in the past. According to him, the celebrated 70,000 naira minimum wage, when converted to dollars, is equivalent to $42. The former NLC president, comparing the first minimum wage in the country under President Shehu Shagari, noted that the 125 naira minimum wage then was equivalent to $160. Oshiomhole spoke during the lecture organized for members of the Executive Intelligence Management Course 17 at the National Institute of Security Studies in Abuja. He said, and I quote, "When minimum wage in Nigeria was established under President Shehu Shagari, I think around 1981, it was around 125 naira, which was about $160 a month. Today, with the VAT increase, the 100% increase that Labour achieved last year, which is now being implemented this month, according to our current exchange rates, is $42. So if you divide 70,000 naira by 1,650 naira, it gives you $42. The working people are much more poorer now than we were so many years ago. So this opportunity will depreciate and affect the quality of life of everything." Oshiomhole also said the federal government and other states generating high revenues should pay workers more than the agreed 70,000 naira minimum wage. And he recalled how he declared a strike to compel the then Lagos State government under President Bola Tinubu, who was then the governor of Lagos State, to pay above the 5,000 naira minimum wage during his time as the NLC president.
Well, perhaps again we'll have to go back to one of the things our guest here said yesterday would be the fact that when you're in office, you probably would forget about certain things.
But
when you
not
leave,
there,
you begin to see things and then you speak from the outside. Adams Oshiomhole was once a labor leader in Nigeria, although you will agree that during his tenure, during his era,
Labour was Labour.
Labour was
yes,
Labour.
we could feel
And
the impact.
Yes, we could feel the impact of Labour, and he stood well for Labour at that time. I remember him so well with his khaki.
With his khaki, thank you.
It was always in his khaki uniform, and he was always very vocal against government at that time. But again, now, you know, saying that government should pay above 70,000 naira, would he have paid when he was still the governor
For where?
of Edo State?
You know, it's
life,
easy to pass ball,
yes,
to pass the blame game now.
On easy lies
the head that wears the
that
crown.
wears the cap. As much as we know that the purchasing power of Nigerians daily diminishing, but then it is not just salaries that government also needs to contend with. They also need to contend with other things that, you know, also would benefit the majority of the citizenry. So if they're to pay, you know, the amounts that some people are suggesting, then would have to choose. Would you rather they downsize?
Or leave it the way it is?
Or leave it the way it is, be more accommodating, and allow people to just take what it is. So it's easier said
Than done.
than done.
And so where was Senator Adams Oshiomhole while the negotiation for the new national minimum wage was
He
on?
probably was not part of the committee.
I saw him a couple of times when Labour was actually...
Oh, no, so he was part of those that not negotiated the minimum wage, but part of the team that bridged the gap or spoke to Labour to consider going on strike at that point in time. So
you suddenly realized that the federal government
had to say something. He had to say something.
Okay. Tinubu appoints Oluyede, acting Chief of Army Staff, as Lagbaja undergoes treatment. The President Bola Tinubu has appointed Major General Olufemi Oluyede as the acting Chief of Army Staff. Oluyede will act in the position pending the return of the indisposed substantive Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja. Tinubu's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, revealed in a statement Wednesday evening. The statement is titled, President Tinubu appoints Major General Olufemi Olatubosun Oluyede as acting Chief of Army Staff. Until his appointment, Oluyede served as the 56th Commander of the Elite Infantry Corps of the Nigerian Army, based in Jaji, Kaduna. The 56-year-old Oluyede and Lagbaja were classmates and members of the 39th Regular Course. He was commissioned a second lieutenant in 1992. Effective from 1987, he rose to Major General in September 2020. Oluyede has held many commands since his commissioning as an officer. He was platoon commander and adjutant at 65 Battalion, company commander at 177 Guards Battalion, staff officer, Guards Brigade Commandant, Amphibious Training School. Okay, so anyway, that's the latest
Which I have
now.
acting Chief of Army Staff now.
Yes.
Initially, it was denied. that there is nothing called acting chief of army staff in the Constitution of Nigeria, but here we have
the
it.
president has.
But the thing here is, you also realize that before service chiefs are confirmed, they're usually in acting capacity.
Yes.
So if there's a need, I mean, just like, I'm not sure this has ever happened where a serving chief of staff had to be replaced this way, because this is this man is ill, and now they're not even sure when he's going to come back. So usual practice would be when you take a leave or when you're not around, the second person will just take charge, and that one does not need for the president to actually appoint. But here, the president has to do this so that, again, number one, there won't be a vacuum, and number two, the man is in the hospital, critically ill. We do not know how this will pan out. So I think the president had to do this to douse all tension and to also not leave that vacuum for people to think that there is actually a vacancy in that
people have started lobbying before now, according to what I read. And the Nigerian army actually said that there was no vacuum. It's not a big deal that General Lagbaja was not around up until yesterday, when the special advisor to Mr. President now made that.
So I mean, this has laid to rest all speculations, and so now there's somebody occupying that position. So there is no so lobbying may continue only if Lagbaja does not return. But if he returns, then the person acting in his capacity will just step aside.
It is well.
It is well.
It is really well. Okay, those are our news points today. Let's quickly head to the X platform to take a look at what's trending. We broke the news here before we left yesterday that a court, a Federal High Court in Abuja, had ruled that the CBN, that is the Central Bank of Nigeria, should not release allocations to Rivers State for local government, of course, because of certain things happening in that state. And on that note, Governor Sim Fubara is trending on the X platform. A lot of people are saying, well, allow this man to govern Rivers State. But the governor himself is saying, well, whether or not you release allocation, that is the least of my worry. Jibola, do you really believe that?
We shall see. All this shakara is not going to work at the end of the day. And I think the less you talk, the better for you. And stop playing to the gallery. And this battle for supremacy, I know it's going to end one day. And whether we like it or not, the law is the law. The court has ruled. And so it shall be. So whether he's going to think out of the box and, of course, look at other ways of generating income and paying salaries, only time will tell.
No, but
the fight is still on. The battle for supremacy is still on. And some people have tagged Rivers, the river of crises, the river of, you know, so many names.
You were going to say something, Joy.
Yeah, I wanted to say that if by law these chairmen are not recognized, I don't think he should continue with that.
If by what?
If by law,
this chairman that were appointed or selected, rather.
They were elected and they have been sworn in.
Elected or selected.
Yeah, but if the law says they are not...
If the law doesn't recognize them...
Yeah, but yesterday, during the Thanksgiving service, they were still saying that the elected chairmen are here.
Yeah, agreed.
That the payment of salaries, they are the list of his worries.
Agreed, but then again, we're all looking at legality versus illegality. There's so many things piling against Governor Sim Fubara that are illegal. You still have the number of lawmakers that passed the budget at 4.
And
even
those 4 are the ones sitting inside the government house.
That's what I was saying. Is that proper? Is that right? So even if you're right to a certain extent, you're also doing things that are putting you against the law of the land. So as much as this is battle of supremacy, I think both men still need to backtrack and take a look at where this will end. It might not end well.
And you know, those pushing the governor, I think they need to have a rethink in the interest of the people of Rivers State.
Those that are pushing the governor have a valid point. It is their job. They are politicians. It is the governor.
That is where they will eat.
Yes, it is the governor that needs to think and decide what should be the fate of Rivers State, because he is the #1 citizen in that state. Because political jobbers will always go around.
Definitely. The kind of statement that he made yesterday, I wasn't expecting him to make such a statement, if indeed he's looking for peace.
Well.
As if he's looking for peace.
And you know, there was a prophet that warned.
Right.
You fight Wike. Hey, Wike will fight you from beginning till the end.
Oh my God. Okay, let's wrap it up on this segment. We'll take a quick break. We'll return to conversations we'll be having on this side of the divide yesterday, and we'll be looking at integrity and leadership in traditional institutions. Remember, the Governors Forum had also met with traditional rulers yesterday. Okay, we'll take, the reverse. We'll take issues around out-of-school children first, and we'll come back to the other conversation much later on.